So ponder how all of heaven rejoices over when one person is saved. Or ponder how your voice joins the heavenly choir when you're rejoicing over Christ's birth. Then she pondered the phrase, on earth peace. So you can ponder the peace that can rule in your heart. If you yearn for peace, you can ponder that peace that can rule in your heart. Ponder that the Prince of Peace, Isaiah 9:6, longs to abide in you. Ponder heaven's perfect peace that can be yours even in the midst of chaos or unpredictability of life or during times of great sorrow. But I'm thinking Mary also must have pondered what the angel Gabriel told her when Christ's birth was foretold in Luke 1:26-38. She was told, the Lord is with you. Ponder that. Ponder that. Ponder that when you're driving in the car. Ponder that when you're doing chores. Ponder that when you're so tired, discouraged, depressed. The Lord is with you. So I'm going to tell a story, and I know it was a surprise how many parents of former students are here, so I'm going to tell a story about a former second grader, and trust me, it's none of your guys. And I'm changing the names, but it's none of your guys. But it was great. It was a neat surprise to see all the ladies here. And when I taught second grade years ago, cursive was part of the curriculum. And the cursive was made up of different strokes. I loved it because it was an auditory and visual thing. And so they were learning the lowercase l. And so they were all individually working, and I was walking around checking to see how they're doing. And one student whispered and called me over, and whispered and said, let's call him Philip, was his neighbor. Mrs. Chandler, Philip's crying. And sure enough, I looked over, and he was quietly crying. And I looked at his paper, and he had tried so many times and erased it that he had a hole on his paper. And he said, Mrs. Chandler, I can't do it. And I said, sure you can. I said, I'm going to guide you through it. And so I said, come on, let's do an undercurve, loop back, slant, undercurve. And I said, you did it. And he said, yeah, but you were there. And he said, can you just stay there? And I said, no, I can't just stay there. Maybe I'll do a cutout of me or something. But here's the point. Are you secretly crying and saying, I can't do it? Emmanuel, God with us, will never leave you nor forsake you. A lot of times people say there's light at the end of the tunnel. But ladies, if you're in a tunnel or have ever been in a tunnel, it's comforting to know, and I've experienced it, there is light in the tunnel. Ponder how His Word is guiding you. He guides you, just like I was guiding my student. He'll guide you wherever you need to go. If you're in transition right now, He will guide you. Are you secretly crying and saying, I can't do this anymore? Ponder that Christ is near to the brokenhearted. Ponder Christ's invitation to take His yoke upon you. In Matthew 11:29-30, take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. Ponder that. Ponder what that would look like and what that feel like, rest for your souls. And that's similar to Psalm 23:3, where you read, He restores my soul. Ponder these treasures. Pondering Christ. I mean, I was so excited when I was doing this that I thought, oh, what an exciting message to ponder Christ. So here's the echo message. Again, pondering Christ has a powerful impact. And a lot of times when you don't know, is He really there? Even in His silence and what seems like His absence, there is still His presence. He will never leave you. So she also probably pondered what Gabriel said, of His kingdom there will be no end. Ponder that. Wonder often about your heavenly home. We're just pilgrims. It'd be fun to really ponder about being in your heavenly home. Ponder about His everlasting kingdom we read about in Isaiah 9:6-7. And here's another passage of the familiar Christmas story. For unto us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on His shoulders. And He will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of His greatness, of His government and peace, there will be no end. He will reign on David's throne and over His kingdom, establishing it and upholding it with justice and righteousness from that time on and forever. Boy, we hate things to end, especially if they're relationships that end. but our relationship with Christ won't end. True followers of Christ. The zeal of the Lord Almighty will accomplish this. So while pondering, that's a tongue twister. While pondering his everlasting kingdom, ponder his everlasting love. We read about in all of Psalm 103, especially in verse 17. But the steadfast love of the Lord is from everlasting to everlasting on those who fear him, and his righteousness to his children's children. And lastly, she probably pondered, nothing will be impossible with God. Ponder that. Consider carefully all the power Christ has demonstrated. The one who calmed the wind and waves can calm your tormenting fears and insecurities. So Mary pondered the words that were told to her by the angel and the shepherds, but we have all of God's word to ponder. So it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word became flesh. So when we're pondering Christ and the birth of Christ, the Word became flesh. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we have seen his glory. Glory is of the only Son of the Father, full of grace and truth. That's John 1:1 and 14. So we can ponder the Word, what the Word has to say in times of struggles or dark trials. Sometimes life seems like such a battle. I mean, just the day-to-day things is just, you're hit with, some days are worse than others, right? And you're hit with everything. It seems like, wow, what is happening today? Or maybe you go through a period of time, maybe months, where you're hit with a whole series of trials. And sometimes people say, I feel like I'm losing my mind, right? Literally, that's what's happening to me. So many of you know that I have multiple sclerosis. And I have several brain MRIs that prove that my brain is shrinking faster than someone my age. And it's full of lesions too many to count. And when I learned about that, you can imagine how scary that was. I was an adjunct at Cairn. And so I wondered when and how was it going to negatively impact my teaching. So one day I was teaching one of the classes and I was telling them a story to illustrate a point. And my students, I kind of got this weird feeling that I had already told them the story. So I stopped and I said, I already told you this story, right? And they go, oh, it's okay, Mrs. Chandler, it's a good story. But that was the point where I realized this is the beginning of the end. I wasn't as sharp as I was. So I was driving home in the car, and I thought, if I can't think, I can't teach. And if I can't think, I can't speak. And if I can't think, I can't write. Who am I? What am I worth? So that led me to have to ponder another worldview. What is a person? Who am I? So I pondered God's Word. And God spoke to me as he does it only so gently and intimately. He said, you're a child of the King. And that's everything. And I'm proof right now before you that he helps me think. Literally, he has to help me think. And so, but that's for you too. See, the thing about it was, my identity was wrapped up in being a teacher. So, I don't think I'd be a good speaker if I wasn't convicting you. So here's the convicting part. Is your identity wrapped up in your children, your job, your accomplishments, your ministry and service? Is it tied to your social media profiles? Ladies, you're missing the boat because you're a child of the King. For those of us who are followers of Christ, you're a child of the King. Ponder that. Ponder that the King of all kings. Many of you are reading through the Bible, through a year of the Bible recap, and every passage you learn more about God's character. So imagine all of his character he bestows on you because you're his child. And so